When I made the drawer handles to go on the drawers to add to my other table, I made an extra one to go on this drawer right here. But there's a bit of a story to this drawer. It's because I had this box that I didn't know what to do with. I got this box sent to me 2 years ago by Microjig, makers of the yellow push blocks that I don't like very much. And it had in it 10 of these dovetail clamps. I think they're called match fit. And there's no strings attached. They just sent me the box hoping that I would have a use for them, presumably get some exposure. And the box had these dovetail mounts in it for the clamps to fit in there like this and to go on the wall. They're nice, good quality clamps, and they're meant to go into dovetails that you can route into wood so that you don't need T-tracks. But I've always been a bit wary of using them like that because I was always afraid that I might just kind of bust my jigs like that because the wood can tear out like that, especially plywood. But that said, I've actually found these clamps very useful for all kinds of other things. For instance, they fit in the pantry router track. They only need a little bit ground off of here to slide all the way across. Or for fitting them onto jigs, because they're so small on the bottom, they don't need much of a space to clamp around. Or sacrificial fences, because they don't need a very big hole. Or for clamping things to a jig table, they can snake around a relatively small hole with ease, and that way there's no risk of tearing out the table. But there's no way I was going to mount that fancy display box on my wall, so I always thought, well, they got kind of poor value out of sending me those clamps. Until I saw Bob Clagett's latest Between the Builds video. And what did I see? That very same box here, and here, and here, plus this very same sled type thingy with the dovetail slots in it. So clearly they sent him those clamps too. But I've never before seen that box in his videos, nor have I ever seen him use those clamps. And given that, I suspect they probably also sent that same box to Jimmy DiResta, except I've never seen any evidence of it in any of his videos. But they are relatively expensive clamps, although only half the price of these Bessie lever clamps. This one is Festool branded. But for just a little bit more than one of these, I was able to buy 4 of these clamps on sale at the Home Depot. Other clamps I like to use, this Irwin clamp, also from the Home Depot. This one's turned out to be really handy when you have a joint that needs to be squeezed a long way, so you have to do a lot of cranking. The big handle is really good for that, and they turn relatively nicely. Other clamps, this is a cheap one from Canadian Tire. The lever handle on here is really good for cranking things down really hard. I've gotten to like little C-clamps like that lately because when you've got a small job, these don't get in the way very much and they don't add a lot of weight. Other clamps, these are really handy when you've got a difficult thing just to put the first clamp on things. They're not strong enough for a lot of serious things, but just to get the first clamp on and hold that workpiece before you put other clamps on it, really handy. This is a cheap Chinese clamp. It's 3 feet long and it's not a very sturdy clamp, but I really like this one because it's not so heavy, and a lot of times you have a long clamping job that doesn't actually need a whole lot of force. And then of course there's these homemade long reach clamps. These are really quite awkward, but when you got a job where only these ones will reach, then they're the only clamp that you can use. Oh yeah, and I've also gotten to like spring clamps a lot lately because they're just so quick to put on something. Again, not a lot of force, but just to fix things on initially. Very handy. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little workshop story. And this box here, I finally have a place for it. Now I just need to figure out what I'm going to put in this drawer.